All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode this week in Reselling After Dark. And we're joined After Dark. We're joined. All right, we're getting right into it. We're joined with Erynn, the reseller here. Guys, make sure to follow her on all of her socials. We talked a little bit about how she got into reselling in the first episode, so make sure to get into that. And we found out that Erynn is a full-time attorney that practices everything besides immigration law and what was the other one? Bankruptcy law. So, and you said that your favorite was civil defense?
No, my favorites are family law and criminal defense. But what
criminal defense
practicing the most of is civil litigation.
Civil litigation. So that's like legitimately like going to a courtroom and defending a criminal, quote unquote, right?
Well, that's criminal defense.
Okay. So what is the one that you said?
You can tell we know.
Sorry, I don't have much.
No, I'm going to break it down. Yeah, there's different types of law, right? If you punch me, that's a crime. But if you breach my contract and someone's not getting paid, that's unlawful, but it's not a crime. So it's civil. For those infractions that you can do that aren't crimes, right? That are breach of contract, for example, those are called torts. And it's a different law, it's a different court, it's a different type of practice. So those are kind of the two basic ones. And there are others. Family law, technically civil, but it has its own court system and own rules and own policies. Housing court, also, right? All of these are civil because they're not criminal, but it also has, its own court and its own rules and its own laws. There's other types of things. But yeah, basically things are criminal or civil.
Gotcha.
There's also like local, there's zoning, or there's all sorts of things.
Joe and I should have hired you as a civil lawyer because we had a contract dispute with Ray.
We got it worked out. Erynn. We got it worked out.
Good. I'm glad.
Maybe Erynn. Maybe that's who Kristen was using.
That maybe
as a representative.
Never thought about that.
I can't confirm nor deny, but I also know what you're talking about, so that's a good indication.
So, Erynn, what has been? I don't. If you can't speak on this, of course, by all means. But what has been some of like the most interesting cases and some of the most wild ones that you have?
Oh my goodness!
In your first year, or even being what do you call it? Not an attorney, but
I was a paralegal. I was a secretary. I was an administrative assistant. I was an intern. I've been every role in the firm except like the big boss, owner, partner. Maybe one day.
Someday.
Maybe one day.
Hashtag goals.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll happen eventually. I've seen some. I feel like I tease my boss and colleagues. We never get what I'd call normal, right? We never get like, I hired this person to do this and they didn't do it. And now I need to breathe. It's never normal. I've seen some crazy things. I've seen a psychic manipulate their customer into thinking a member of their family was in immediate danger. Sorry, I'm choosing my words carefully. Was in immediate danger due to evil spirits, and really manipulated this person and used religion and spirituality to manipulate this person into paying them an astronomical number. And it was very interesting because, both criminal and civil charges were pursued against this woman. But this woman, like, acted as if she believed what she was doing was real. She's like, oh, no, these evil spirits were going to do this to the family member. I did save it. Like, that money, that wasn't manipulation. Like, that was real. An exorcism was required. And I'm like,
whoa.
Joe's on the edge of his seat.
Not ready for this. Like, the laws aren't written.
No.
This.
Are we talking six figures money?
Oh, yeah. We're talking like second more. The woman, and listen, we're not victim shaming. So we're not talking about how you can't believe the woman found a way to make that work. Like, this was the person's true religious and spiritual and superstition beliefs mixed with the paranoia because she was manipulated because it was a very close familial relationship. Like, we're not victim shit. Like, she believed this. And by the way, so did the psychic. Apparently. I think she's the biggest fraudster ever, and this is like disgusting. But she really was like, no, you don't understand. I have a gift and I can see this. And I was using that gift, and that was an appropriate cost for this service. She lost.
Legit. That seems legit.
like the law isn't written. Like the law isn't written to accommodate when people like believe in this. And her argument was like that we all observe religion and we treat that like it's real, even though it's intangible. But you're acting like this type of spirituality isn't real. And I'm like, that's a creative argument. You're a fraudulent asshole.
Yeah.
It's not a lie if you believe it.
That's right, George Costanza.
Yeah, that one was
Right.
crazy. I've seen a lot of fraud that's really crazy. I've seen.
Wait, before you get into that, I have questions on the one that you just said.
I gave you most of the details I could, but I'll try.
Okay. Who found? When did they figure out that the lady? Like, when did the person that was being manipulated,
The light bulb go off.
figure it out? Like, hey, this isn't right. Like, was it a family member? You know what I mean? Like, when does that?
She was told the whole time that if she told a single person about it, that the negative effect she was avoiding on the family member would manifest immediately. But it got to an astronomical number, and she had expended all resources and called in all. She didn't have the money and really risked that would happen. So she confided in a family member that immediately called the police. And at some point, someone must have recommended civil infractions too, because the exchange of money. And that's how. I didn't work on this personally. It was in the office. It's not recent.
Are you allowed to tell whether or not the lady got her money back? Or, I mean, seems like she was willing, even though she was being manipulated, she was willingly giving the money.
Yeah, as to if she did, I don't know. So this is a problem in civil, and I have to tell clients this every day. First of all, I can sue them. And I can be very optimistic that it'll be successful, right? Even if you get a judgment on someone, if they have no assets to collect upon, you might never get paid. You can wage garnish and you might get $25 a week. But if someone has no assets, which a lot of people don't, just because the economy or because the people that actually would have assets do things like shield them in corporations and trusts. I know she was successful and that a judgment was obtained. If a collection occurred, I don't know.
Wow, man, that's crazy. I feel
Yeah.
so bad. That kind of reminds me of like the African prince, that loves you and wants like catfished.
Oh,
The
yeah.
email scam.
Yeah. Didn't you have an African princess that you gave money to, Ken, at one point?
Well, we're not going to go into that because I'm still recovering. I thought no, it's I don't understand how people. Here's a question I have about that, about a kind of like identity theft stuff. I would love to know the numbers of how many people truly have their identity stolen versus how many willingly gave it away to somebody, because. You see this, I got my identity stolen because somebody contacted me on a phone or an email and I gave them my bank account, my social security number, wait a minute. Yes, you got scammed and that's illegal, but you gave it to that person.
Well,
it wasn't stolen.
They're still a victim of that, right? And people they target senior citizens, they send letters in the mail that they look legitimate. So there is often a component of participation, willingness, sure. But you can't be willing to participate in something when you don't understand what you're participating in. And if it's a fraud, then it can be identity.
Yeah.
Not, even if one had some form of participation, but it's more complex than that. That's the short answer.
That's crazy.
Really be convincing of your scam and have every T crossed and I dotted so you can maybe get out of it.
Yeah, we don't promote scamming on this show, Joe.
Yeah.
Ray's been scamming us for the last year.
No.
That might
do you deal? Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, that one might be the craziest, but we do have, sometimes I'm like, why are none of these cases like a normal law school hypothetical? Like, why are all of these scenarios are so wild? We see some wild stuff. Crazy.
Do you deal with a lot of scams? I'm sure because of
my most important case that I have been working on for over a year or maybe about a year. It does involve scam, but I'm not like zealously like trying to find the scammer. It was a transaction, and there were other people and financial institutions involved in it that they should have observed a duty to prevent the scam, and they're negligent. So it becomes a civil negligence claim, right? So this isn't real, but I'm going to give you a full hypothetical so that I don't overspeak on things I'm not supposed to. Let's say one of you bought a house, and you bought $1 million home, right? One day we'll all be $1 million homes. And the seller wasn't the seller. The seller pretended to be the seller, right? It's highly unlikely, unfortunately. Maybe the FBI can find that person if they've done it a lot. But really, who I'm looking at in that instance is I'm looking at the realtors. I'm looking at the title company. I'm looking at the closing company. I'm looking at people like that because they had duties too. To ensure that the identity was correct, that the title was clear, right? That those signatures were authentic. So oftentimes when I'm looking at scams, it's more the people that facilitated it that were negligent. And then this is why everyone has insurance, right? Whether it's malpractice insurance or error and omission. So I'm actually fighting with the insurance companies.
That's funny you say that because another reseller, the biggest one in the space, Harry Tornado, recently got something that's super similar. He bought a house to flip and sold it, and then later got a letter in the mail saying that the person he sold it to, like, they still owed money on the house or something like that, which the person he bought it from still owed money on the house or something super crazy. And then like because he had that insurance, then they were good. But yeah, it was a big mess. So I can imagine. I guess you deal with some of that stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. I don't do that for him. That's an interesting story, Harry. Yeah. Although I'm in Mass and very limited to Massachusetts. But anyways, that is exactly like what I do. Like that's a perfect example of a lot of the cases we have right now. It happens. Property fraud is huge. So if anyone's buying or selling, please be careful. Property fraud is so huge. Back in the day when things had to be done in person and notarized in person and signed in person, it was easier. But a lot of these transactions, I mean, it's really technology fraud is what it is. It's sad. And because it's such an astronomical purpose and the sentimental value, and often that it's one's home and one's livelihood and one's family and one's savings, it's highly emotionally charged. It's really sad.
Yeah. Can you give us some tips not to get property frauded, Erynn? With lack of a better term.
You have title insurance.
Just don't buy property.
Yeah, I'd make sure that you have title insurance so that if there is an issue with title, right, I would make sure that you trust the realtors that you use. And a lot of people never select their closing company. I don't even know if they're often provided with an option. It's just usually a real estate agency works with, they send all their closings to the same company. Or oftentimes it's the lender. So if there's a mortgage involved, it's like the closing attorney is the attorney that works with that financial institution, that bank. But I would research them. I would make sure I'd honestly look at the forms yourself too. No one signs anything, reads anything they sign. When we go to professionals, right? When we go to professionals and they make us sign docs, we're like, oh yeah, we got to sign these docs. No one reads them. No one reads them. And I get that a lot of people don't read them because they rely on these professionals and they're just boilerplate standard language. But if people read them more closely, right, and it didn't have your name but accidentally had your deceased father's on the deed, you would see that. Like you would see that, because people make mistakes. That's why professionals that do these types of things, whether it's real estate or even medical practice or legal practice, that's why everyone has insurance, because people make mistakes.
Gosh. That gets me a little bit paranoid. So, like, let's say
I'm the most paranoid person ever because of what I do.
I bet. I would be too.
Paranoid. I will not drive a vehicle after one cocktail. Uber loves me. I am so paranoid.
Oh yeah, it's not worth it.
So nothing's worth it. I really try to not be too paranoid to disallow my children from enjoying a childhood and doing things. But I'm like background searching parents before play dates. Like I'm so paranoid. I need to chill. But it's the nature of what I see.
Okay.
So you're also
Okay.
like a private detective when it comes to stuff.
No, I'm not, and I don't have that license. I will say though, a lot of things that the older gentleman in my firm would have sent to a PI. I'm like, could you give me a couple minutes? And I'm like on like Instagram.
All the girls. Yeah.
You know, like I will say,
Yeah.
there is a joke. Like we don't need, like, before we even call it, like we don't need a PI. We have Erynn, because and I work with a lot of older men, and that they didn't grow up with like social, they don't know on TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will say I do have some skills that the average person doesn't.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay. Erynn, so for instance, let's say that, I don't know, me and Ken are doing business together.
Yeah.
And there's contracts involved, and we have like a mutual understanding. It's like, okay, Ken, you're getting 30% of the company, I'll get 70% of the company. Here are the contracts. Like, does Ken just sign it, or like who can we go to have like, hey, could you read over this contract and make sure that it's okay? Like, for an average person, like, who does that?
The most responsible way for two people to do that is to each actually obtain their own counsel. Because if you guys wanted to come to me and you wanted to make an agreement, right? This is in advance. This is responsible. This is because good fences make good neighbors. There's no present dispute. You just want an attorney to draft something. And the laws might vary by state. I could do that. But the first thing I would have to do is have you both sign waivers, because inherently in drafting for two people that are on opposite sides, it's an immediate conflict of interest immediately, right? Immediately. It'd be different if I'm going to represent an employer and make him contracts for like employees. I represent just him, right? Like we do, you can go to an attorney to draft something. You can also draft something yourself and go to an attorney to review it. It's great if you both have your own, and it's great because the attorney is going to think of scenarios that you guys both can't, right? Like that could impact that agreement. Like it's never as simple as 70 and 30% of what after expenses, like what happens in the event of a lawsuit, what happens in the event of a merger, who has the voting power. Like there's so many things. But yeah, there's attorneys that specialize in drafting contracts. And working in a general practice, there are certain areas of law that I feel like we have as a firm have an extensive area in, but there's also like, you can be a criminal defense attorney without doing murder. You know what I'm saying? Like I would do murder, right? Just like you can do estate planning without doing it for billionaires. So I feel like a contract like you just described is lower on the scale of severity. And I like that I work on a general practice because I'm exposed to the lowest scale of everything and then gradually higher scales of other areas where people or the firm in general specializes in. So that's a simple thing that I do think most attorneys could do.
Okay.
Is draft a contract like that. Now, not for Amazon, but for a mom and pop.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. That's good information for sure. Because you just never know when you come to an agreement and look over stuff. It's just good to know.
People think attorneys are bad things. We do a ton of things that are good. We help people with businesses. We help people with buying and selling homes or items or contracts or forms for their employees or estate planning for themselves and loved ones. Having an attorney is not always a bad thing. I will say a majority of the time I am helping people at the worst time in their life, whether it's criminal related or money related and civil, but there are reasons in life that people will need an attorney that's not exactly negative. I don't know why we have such a bad rap. We help people a lot. Things,
What's a good case that you
need an attorney? That's wonderful.
Yeah. What's a good case that you've been a part of that you're like, yes, we did a really good thing. Like this is like you felt really good after.
I feel good a lot. Even yesterday, it wasn't necessarily a good case, but I represented who I wholeheartedly believe was a falsely accused person that faced criminal allegations, and I had seen and substantiated that in my heart. I did believe these were false accusations. In fact, the alleged victim had threatened to make the false accusations and then did, and it really, really disturbed and disrupted the client. I mean, can you imagine being accused of things you didn't do? And I was able to
every day.
I was able to reveal that, so I felt good. I think a more classic example is when people are older and they want to do estate planning. They know a nursing home might come to them. They really want to provide for their home and their family and children. They didn't come to the office because there was an emergency. They came to the office for a proactive thing to get done, and they feel good when it's done, and they feel good when it's signed. And I give them their documents in a binder and shake their hand, and they leave feeling good, because unfortunately, not all matters I work on, conclude in my client feeling good. So I think estate planning is a good example of that.
That's good.
Any cases that you've ever done or out of your office or you personally that are reselling related? Somebody was frauded that way? Something?
Great question, Ken.
Yeah, in the last year since being an attorney, I've helped sellers on 3 instances pursue issues with marketplaces.
Oh,
okay. I have successfully on 2
against marketplaces or against a buyer or a seller.
Against the marketplaces themselves. I could have pursued the other person involved in the transaction, but it doesn't make sense to financially or lucratively. It doesn't make sense to. So in all 3 instances, I pursued assisting with the marketplace dispute.
Can you be general enough to give us an idea?
Because we're always pissed at eBay
all the time.
Yeah, I'm trying to organize the way to present it without sharing any personal information. I represented someone who was a buyer in the transaction, but is also a seller. So was actually buying to resell. It was a luxury item. It was inauthentic, and the marketplace didn't want to give the money back, basically. But it wasn't just about that one thing, right? Because I always have to tell people when they come to me to pay my firm's hourly rate, right? It has to be. But the issue in this specific instance was my client does buy and sell online, always luxury items, right? They might only be $200 to $400 to begin with, but basically this marketplace said they had opened too many claims of inauthentic, and they were like, stop buying luxury stuff here because you can't keep getting money back. And that's a huge problem. It was the bigger principle, because this is what this seller does. If the seller's open too many claims, to me, that says marketplace, that you're allowing the sale of too many fraudulent items. And that was the nature of the instance. So I don't recommend any, I'll never turn you away if you want to consult with me, but I'm letting you know that my hourly rate is oftentimes more than the transaction. I mean, especially when talking about clothing. I suppose when we go to other categories, I mean, if you buy a car and there's an issue, hit me up. But if you're, it's almost never worth it. You should independently pursue it. You should zealously document things. You should dispute it with your own financial institution. That's what's usually, but in these instances, they were exceptional. They were friends. I was successful in 2 out of 3. The third one we dropped because they wouldn't settle, or for lack of a better word, and it would have required a formal complaint, like a formal lawsuit, at which point, again, the astronomical cost of that lawsuit itself is just not practical.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would you say, if anybody that is listening has an issue, that it is worth getting an attorney and is worth paying your hourly rate, can they contact Erynn the reseller?
I mean, I'll never turn anyone away. But I really try to be reasonable with people. I take pride in the fact that I'm honest. I don't think attorneys and lawyers have a good reputation when it comes to money.
No,
I hate to tell people that your principal isn't worth it, but I say, listen, principal is the most expensive thing I sell. If you want to pay my hourly rate to fight about $300, I'll do it, and I'll treat it like it's the most important thing in the world, because it is to you, and I work for you. But that doesn't make sense. And it sucks to be screwed over, and then you don't want to be further screwed over by paying to pursue it. But it does become a business decision. So and this isn't just in the reseller, this is in any context. I have someone messed something up on their house, and it's even when it's $1,000, it's not. It doesn't make sense. You're gonna spend so much more fighting that. There's no guarantee of success. I hate telling people that have been screwed over that they're gonna really have to spend up for me to try to fix it, and might not be able to, but it is the nature of my job. No.
Another question, Ken?
Well, I was just gonna say, so it's probably not a good idea for me to pursue like the kicker for my team can't seem to make an extra point or like a field goal. I probably shouldn't like do any legal action on that or
for the Cleveland Browns.
Constantly.
Nope. And I don't know anything about football. I'm hoping that is football. You said kicker.
It is.
I don't know. Vikings, that's football. I know that.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Okay. One more question before we get you out of here, Erynn, because thank you so much for your time. Because shoot, I don't know what your hourly rate is, so we just want to keep it.
I'll send you a bell. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, there you go. Send it to Joe at I'dflipthat.com.
Yes. Preferably.
Yeah. So, Erynn, can you give us one more example of like a case that was like kind of out of the norm that you could share besides your crazy psychic story?
Case that was out of the well.
Ooh,
I'm sure you have a whole book of them.
Again, I didn't work on it. But it involves, and it's actually really old. Like it's real. Like the person that works on it was like a long time ago. I might have been a child. The case involved a horse, and horses are very valuable. And this horse, I don't know if it showed or if it raced. It was a horse that raised money in some instance where people would bet on it. And when the horse was transported, the horse's sheath, which is a horse genital, the horse's sheath was damaged, and thus the horse couldn't breed. So the damages surrounded the case, surrounded the breeding, the value, the showmanship, the breeding. And it's a series of crazy animal cases and breeding, and specifically animal genitals that I've heard. So that was a really crazy one. And I've also heard of a fraudulent divorce.
How does that even work?
Divorce. The couple determined that it would be beneficial legally to not be married. I don't know specifically, and if I did, I wouldn't tell you if that was for tax reasons, if that was for state, but I don't know what it was. I don't know why, but for some reason, they decided, whether rightfully or not rightfully, that being married wasn't beneficial.
On paper.
So they divorced, making up reasons for said divorce, but never lived separate and apart, never were divorced, never told their families they were divorced. Like they
never told their families. That's wild.
Because they weren't going to live that way. You know how they say marriage doesn't matter, it's a piece of paper. And I'm a married woman, and not much changed the second I got a ring and a piece of paper. Really,
yeah, exactly.
I had a ring and a piece of paper, and a really big bill. Similarly, I think their rationale was nothing's really going to change if we get a divorce. But it was fraudulent, and it ended up manifesting that it was fraudulent. And one of them, in a dispute, once eventually they were going to be separate and apart. They were fighting about things that you would have thought about during the divorce, and we, someone that's now at my firm had to fight the validity of the divorce and that it was a fraudulent divorce, which is so interesting. I do a lot of divorces, and that's the only time I've ever heard of someone alleging that a divorce was fraudulent.
That's crazy.
We talked about a lot of wild shit on After Dark episodes. Horse genitals is the first.
That is the first. How much money was they were going to lose because of the damaged horse genitals?
I don't know, but it was like freaking way more than you'd expect. You're like, what the hell? Like, a lot of time, like horse genitals sound so silly, but a lot of times I'm at work and I'm like talking about like the special sand in my client's junkyard, and I'm like, this is what I went to law school for. Like, it's dirt, it's who keeps which colored bath towels in a divorce, it's horse genital, it's like the craziest shit. Like, this is what
that's crazy.
what I'm doing today. This is what I'm working on. I didn't ask. I can swear in After Dark, right?
You can. You sure can.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It is literally the craziest shit.
Yeah, it's After Dark episode, but I'm having to bite my tongue on the many.
I mean,
so many horse genital.
I owned a racing horse that was lucrative, and it, not only expensive for me to keep, and someone damaged its ability to breed. I'm not saying it's an inviolable claim.
Dude, I would be pissed.
I'm just saying it's like a crazy. I think experts were involved. I think like some type of veterinarian expert had to talk about like the horse genital. Like, I think it's crazy. Like, it's crazy.
That's crazy. Well, this has been
rather
an
than,
interesting episode. Erynn,
Wow.
thank you.
Wow.
Thank you so much. for
Cannot
having
hear you.
Erynn, the
Thank
reseller.
you.
I did it again. Okay.
You do it every week.
Make sure to follow Erynn, the reseller, everywhere. Instagram. Do you have a YouTube or any? Where can they find you, Erynn?
I'm primarily on Instagram. I'm just getting started on TikTok. I can smoogle, and I have a Facebook page. So you can find me on
There
those.
you go.
Erynn, the reseller on socials. I'm for Limes, FOUR Limes on all the reselling marketplaces. If you'd like to shop my style-based finds.
Buy all
Thank
this
Yes.
stuff.
Gentlemen, for having me.
There you go.
Thank you
Thank
for
you so
coming on.
much. My name is Ray,
I'm Brendan.
I'm Joe.
I'm Ken.
and we'll catch you guys.
We
on
want
the
to see
flip
that.
side.
shit.
See y'all.
That's enough of that.
God bless. Peace. All right. We're out of here.
That was
Erynn,
Out of here.